the immensity of the Rockies. Above, the clouds, lies A-land, the Rocky Mountains, a sprawling wilderness of jagged peaks and unforgiving terrain, a testament to the raw power of nature, untamed, unpredictable, of silent, danger, and deadly secrets. For centuries these mountains have held secrets, whispers of lost treasures, forgotten trails and vanished souls, secrets that lie buried beneath the snow and stone. Flight 712A routine, cargo, run. From the bustling tarmac, Flight 712 took to the skies, a routine cargo run. Or so it seemed. An ordinary plane carrying an unremarkable crew. Nothing to suggest the extraordinary events that were about to unfold. An unsuspecting crew. Captain Miller, a veteran pilot with nerves of steel. Co-pilot Jones, eager to prove himself. Their mission: navigate the treacherous mountain range and deliver their cargo safely. Unaware of the danger lurking within the belly of the plane. But this flight held a dark. Deep within the cargo hold, beneath layers of ordinary freight, lay a secret, a smuggler's cache, its contents unknown, its destination a mystery, and deadly secret, a secret that. As Flight 712 climbed higher, the air grew thinner. The silence of the cockpit, broken only by the hum of the engines, was deceptive. For within those metal walls, a deadly game of cat and mouse was about to begin, a game that would push the crew to their limits and beyond. High above the world, Flight 712. Hours into the flight, a sense of routine had settled over the cockpit. The steady drone of the engines, the rhythmic blinking of the instrument panel, the quiet murmur of the radio, it was all so familiar to Captain Miller and co-pilot Jones. Soared through the night sky, unaware. They sipped their coffee, their conversation drifting between casual banter and routine flight checks. They were surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of the night sky, a tapestry of twinkling stars against the velvet darkness. But they were oblivious to the danger lurking below, hidden within the heart of their aircraft. Section 2, Captain Miller, A Life in the Clouds. Captain Miller, a grizzled veteran with decades of experience, exuded an air of quiet confidence. His weathered face bore the lines of countless hours spent battling turbulent skies, his eyes reflecting the wisdom gained from navigating through storms both literal and metaphorical. He knew the Rockies like the back of his hand, his instincts honed by years of flying through their treacherous canyons and soaring over their majestic peaks. To him, the mountains were more than just a geographical wonder. They were a familiar companion, a silent witness to his life dedicated to the skies. Section 3, Co-Pilot Jones' Eager Wings, Untested Skies. In stark contrast to Captain Miller's seasoned composure, Co-Pilot Jones was a young man on his first real cargo run. His enthusiasm was palpable, his every action marked by a mixture of nervous energy and the eagerness to prove himself. This flight over the Rockies was his baptism by fire, a chance to earn his wings in the crucible of unpredictable weather and challenging terrain. He hungered for the approval of Captain Miller, his every move geared towards demonstrating his competence and dedication. Is Section 4, the cargo silent and deadly. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting crew, their seemingly routine cargo held a deadly secret. Beneath layers of mundane freight, nestled amongst crates and pallets, lay a hidden compartment. Inside, a deadly cargo awaited its destination. It was a ticking time bomb, a silent menace traveling at thousands of feet above the ground. Each passing moment brought it closer to its unknown purpose, its potential for destruction growing with every mile traversed. And as Flight 712 continued its journey, the true nature of the threat it carried remained hidden, a sinister secret waiting to be unleashed. The first sign of trouble came as a subtle tremor, a fleeting anomaly in the otherwise smooth rhythm of the flight. A faint flickering light on the instrument panel, dismissed at first as a minor electrical glitch. But deep within the intricate network of wires and circuits, a more sinister problem was brewing. The air grew heavy with a strange metallic scent, barely perceptible at first, then becoming increasingly insistent. The temperature inside the cockpit dropped a few degrees, sending a shiver down co-pilot Jones's spine. Unseen, unheard danger was slowly spreading its tendrils, coiling around Flight 712 like a venomous serpent. The calm of the cockpit was shattered in an instant. A deafening bang, followed by a violent jolt that threw Captain Miller and co-pilot Jones against their harnesses. The plane lurched violently, the nose dipping sharply as warning lights erupted across the instrument panel, their insistent blaring piercing the sudden silence. Adrenaline surged through their veins as they struggled to regain control, their training kicking in even as fear gnawed at the edges of their composure. Through the cacophony of alarms and the shuddering of the aircraft, one terrifying reality pierced through. Flight 712 was going down. Captain Miller fought desperately to stabilize the aircraft, his expert hands working instinctively to counteract the forces tearing at the plane. Co-pilot Jones, his face pale but resolute, ran through emergency checklists, his voice tight but steady as he relayed information. Their initial assessment painted a grim picture. The electrical system was failing, the cargo hold compromised. They received a chilling message from the ground control, a distress signal originating from their own plane, a signal they hadn't sent. Someone else was on board. Section 4. Trapped in the sky, fear gave way to a grim realization. They were not alone in their struggle for survival. They were trapped in a flying coffin with an unknown entity, their cargo plane transformed into a high-altitude prison. Realization, they were not alone. In fear gave way to a grim determination. They had to regain control, had to understand the threat they faced. Their lives, and potentially the lives of countless others, depended on uncovering the truth hidden within the belly of Flight 712. Section 5. Whispers of conspiracy. Who was behind this deadly game? As they fought to keep the plane aloft, their minds raced, trying to piece together the puzzle. Who was behind this? What was the true nature of their cargo? Whispers of conspiracy snaked through their thoughts, doubts and suspicions taking root in the fertile ground of fear. The white truth lay buried somewhere. The truth they knew lay buried somewhere in the cargo hold, shrouded in darkness and danger. But with every passing moment the clock was ticking, the air thinning, the mountains looming ever closer. Time was running out for Flight 712 and its desperate crew. Section 1. A race against time. The Rockies loomed large and unforgiving. The altimeter ticked down with agonizing slowness, each number a hammer blow to their hopes. The once distant peaks of the Rockies now loomed large in their windshield, a jagged, unforgiving barrier between them and survival. Time, once a constant companion, had become their most relentless enemy. The air, thin, and the minutes. The air inside the cockpit grew thin, the hiss of the failing oxygen system a constant reminder of their dwindling resources. Every breath was precious, every minute that passed brought them closer to the icy embrace of the mountains. Section 2. The oxygen depletion. Captain Miller, his face pale but determined, adjusts his oxygen mask, his movements sluggish from the thinning air. Captain Miller, his vision blurring at the edges, fought to maintain his composure. The lack of oxygen was taking its toll, slowing his reactions, clouding his judgment. He knew he had to delegate, to trust his young co-pilot with their dwindling hopes. Co-pilot Jones, his breathing ragged but his eyes focused, scans the instrument panel, trying to buy them precious minutes. "Jones," he rasped, his voice hoarse. "Radio, Mayday, give them our status, and tell them we have a situation." Section 3. The shadow in the hold. While Captain Miller and co-pilot Jones battled the elements and the failing aircraft, another drama was unfolding below. In the darkness of the cargo hold, amidst the shifting shadows and the acrid smell of burning circuits, a figure moved with a deadly purpose. They moved with the confidence of someone familiar with the layout, their steps sure-footed despite the chaos around them. They were searching for something hidden amongst the legitimate cargo, something worth killing for. Section 4. A desperate plan. Captain Miller, his mind sharp despite the lack of oxygen, knew they couldn't outrun their fate. The mountains were too close, their descent too rapid. They needed a miracle, a desperate gamble to cheat death. There, he pointed to the map, his finger trembling slightly. A valley. Narrow, treacherous, but if we can thread the needle. Section 5, preparing for the unknown. It was a long shot, but their only chance. They had to risk it all to push the limits of their skill and their aircraft, and they had to do it while facing an unknown enemy lurking in their midst. Only chance they had to risk. As they prepared for the near-impossible maneuver, the tension inside the cockpit crackled like static. The fate of Flight 712 hung in the balance, a testament to human courage and desperation in the face of overwhelming odds. They were about to play a high-stakes game of chicken with the mountains, their lives and the secrets of their deadly cargo hanging in the balance. Section 1. The gauntlet. The plane shuddered as it entered the turbulent airspace, the entire fuselage vibrating with the intensity of the storm. The sky outside was a chaotic swirl of dark clouds and lightning, a tempest that seemed to have a life of its own. The plane shuddered violently as it entered the narrow valley, the wings tilting precariously close to the sheer rock walls. The jagged cliffs loomed ominously on either side, a constant reminder of the peril they faced. Each gust of wind threatened to push them closer to the unforgiving rock. Wind screamed through the fuselage, a banshee's wail that rattled their teeth and tugged at their sanity. The passengers clung to their seats, white-knuckled and wide-eyed as the aircraft was tossed about like a leaf in a storm. The howling wind was relentless, a constant assault on their senses. Captain Miller wrestled with the controls, his face a mask of fierce concentration, every muscle in his body straining against the forces tearing at the aircraft. Sweat beaded on his forehead, his knuckles white as he gripped the yoke. He knew that any mistake could be their last. The narrow passage, a deadly dance of precision and nerve. The plane weaved through the rocky corridor, the engines roaring in defiance of the elements. Each turn was a calculated risk, a delicate balance between survival and disaster. "Hold it steady, old girl," he muttered under his breath, more a prayer than a command. His voice was barely audible over the cacophony of the storm, but it was a mantra that kept him focused. Every second was a battle, every moment a test of his skill and resolve. The valley was a gauntlet of rock and ice, a treacherous path carved by millennia of wind and water. The landscape was both beautiful and deadly, a testament to the raw power of nature. The plane's path was fraught with danger, each second bringing them closer to either safety or catastrophe. They were flying blind, their instruments unreliable, their senses overwhelmed by the maelstrom around them. The storm was a living entity, a force that sought to consume them. Visibility was near zero, and the pilots had to rely on their instincts and training to navigate through the chaos. The plane was their only sanctuary, a fragile shell against the fury of the storm. Section 2, a deadly encounter. Co-pilot Jones fought against the G-forces. The aircraft shuddered violently, each jolt sending a wave of tension through the cockpit. The storm outside was relentless, battering the plane with fierce winds and torrential rain. The cockpit lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the faces of the crew. Co-pilot Jones, his face ashen, fought against the nausea clawing at his throat, his eyes darting between the instrument panel and the terrifying proximity of the mountainside. The altimeter needle wavered and the proximity alarm blared, adding to the chaos. He could feel the sweat trickling down his back, his uniform clinging to his skin. He knew that one wrong move, one miscalculation could spell their doom. The mountains loomed closer, jagged peaks threatening to tear the aircraft apart. Jones's hands gripped the controls with white-knuckled intensity, his mind racing through every possible scenario to keep them alive. Fear, primal and raw, pulsed through his veins, but he refused to give in to it. Not now. Not when their lives and the mystery of their deadly cargo hung in the balance. The cargo, a secretive and highly classified package, was the reason for their perilous journey. Jones had been briefed on its importance, but the details remained shrouded in secrecy. His eyes widened as he noticed. The warning lights flashed urgently, casting a red glow across the cockpit. Jones's heart pounded in his chest as he realized the gravity of their situation. The aircraft was under immense strain, and the structural integrity was compromised. Suddenly, above the roar of the wind and the groan of the straining metal, a new sound reached their ears, a metallic clang, followed by a scraping sound from the rear of the aircraft. The noise was unmistakable, sending a chill down Jones's spine. It was the sound of something breaking loose. Jones's eyes widened in alarm as he noticed the cargo hold door, its latch rattling violently, threatening to burst open. The cargo hold was supposed to be secure, but now it seemed like the very thing they were transporting was trying to escape. The thought of what could happen if the cargo got loose was terrifying. Someone was trying to get in, or worse, get out. Jones's mind raced with possibilities. Was it a saboteur, or was the cargo itself alive, trying to break free? The tension in the cockpit was palpable, every second stretching into an eternity as they fought to maintain control of the aircraft and keep the deadly cargo contained. Section 3. The Revelation. Captain Miller shot a quick glance at co-pilot Jones. Captain Miller, his attention split between the treacherous skies and the unfolding drama behind him, cursed under his breath. He didn't need to see to know that their unseen passenger was making their move. The question was, who were they? And what were they after? "Jones!" he barked, his voice barely audible above the din. "Get on the radio. Try and raise ground control. Tell them we have an intruder on board. And Jones?" He hesitated, a chill running down his spine. "Check the cargo manifest again. Who was the recipient of that last-minute shipment?" Section 4. The Choice. Jones scrambled for the radio, his fingers fumbling as he tried to establish communication with ground control. Static. Only static answered his desperate pleas. They were on their own. He grabbed the cargo manifest, his heart pounding in his chest, and there it was, the recipient's name, scrawled in hurried handwriting. "The Syndicate," he whispered, the blood draining from his face. The name hung in the air, heavy with menace, a confirmation of their worst fears. They weren't just transporting cargo. They were carrying a secret, a deadly secret, that someone was willing to kill for. And now, trapped in this metal tomb hurtling through the sky, they were caught in the crossfire. Section 1. The Landing, a Triumph Against Odds. Through the howling wind and the buffeting turbulence, Captain Miller guided the crippled plane with the precision of a surgeon. The storm raged outside, a relentless force of nature that seemed determined to bring them down. But Captain Miller was no ordinary pilot, he was a seasoned veteran, a man who had faced countless challenges in the sky and emerged victorious. His knuckles were white, his brow slick with sweat, but his eyes burned with a fierce determination. Every muscle in his body was tense, every nerve on edge as he fought to keep the plane steady. The controls felt like they were fighting back, resisting his every move, but he held on, refusing to let go. He refused to give up, not while there was still breath in his body, not while the life of his young co-pilot hung in the balance. The co-pilot, barely out of flight school, looked to him with wide eyes, a mixture of fear and trust. Captain Miller knew he had to be strong, not just for himself, but for the young man beside him. And then, through the blinding snow and the swirling clouds, he saw it. A glimmer of hope in the form of the runway lights, faint but unmistakable. It was a sight that brought a surge of relief, but also a renewed sense of urgency. They were close, but the battle was far from over. The runway. A thin ribbon of asphalt barely visible in the distance, but it was their salvation, their only hope. It seemed impossibly far, a narrow strip of safety in a sea of chaos. But Captain Miller knew that if they could just reach it, they would be safe. With a surge of adrenaline, he adjusted the controls, fighting against the wind's fury, willing the plane towards that distant sliver of safety. The plane shuddered and groaned, but he held firm, his focus unbreakable. Every second felt like an eternity, but he knew they were getting closer, closer to the runway, closer to safety, closer to triumph. Section 2. The Aftermath. Unanswered questions linger. Flight 712 landed with a jarring thud, its tires screeching against the tarmac as if in protest after its ordeal. Emergency vehicles raced towards them, sirens wailing, their flashing lights painting the snowdrifts with an eerie glow. Captain Miller and co-pilot Jones emerged from the wreckage, shaken but alive, their faces etched with the trauma of their harrowing experience. But amidst the relief and the congratulations, a chilling truth remained. The cargo hold was empty. The intruder, the shadow that had haunted their flight, was gone, vanished, leaving behind more questions than answers. What was the deadly secret they carried? Who was behind the syndicate? And what had happened to the unseen passenger who had shared their flight from hell?